Okay, now before the past month, say month and a half, maybe it was a month and a half ago, I had been watching for months. It was so unusual. These grifters, these people who get online and they e-beg, they do sob stories. Oh, I don't have enough money for groceries for myself, and some of them use their kids, and really they do have enough money. They're just getting money off of their audiences. And oh man, everything's a big old sob story. Some of it, I've looked up different words and terms for this. Some of it's actually calling sob story fraud. And fraud, from what I understand, in the United States, it could be different places within the United States. I don't know. I'm not a voice of authority on law or anything. But from what I've read, and when I Googled it, it said that some of it could be illegal. Ooh, even a felony, I think. Wow. But they just do it. They just say, oh, I don't have money, that kind of thing. And get money from their audiences. And I was getting so disgusted by it. Also, what popped up for the first time, I think last year or beginning of this year, was those people who go to, they call them food banks, but it's actually food pantries. And they have the money to buy their own groceries, but they want they call it emergency fund. And one of them, she came clean somewhat at some point when she bought a new vehicle with the money she had saved. Okay, she didn't buy her own groceries. She went to food banks, to food pantries, and got free food from there. Okay, that's for the needy, not the greedy. And I keep saying that. And then another one, she took a trip. More than one, took vacations after doing stuff like that with her family, with her children. And one of them, her children, actually live at home, and they are adults, and they work also. They're all gainfully employed. And they go to food banks and take the best stuff too, not the bad stuff. They get there early to get the good stuff because their kids aren't going to eat the stuff that other kids would eat, other adult or young children. They think they deserve the better stuff, but they go and take vacations. One of them probably, I did the math, I looked it up, all this stuff, around $20,000 for their vacation overseas. But they had to have that emergency fund. I'm gonna do like some of them. They get that, they caught that Valley Girl. Apparently they think it's Valley Girl and royalty or a British accent mixed together, and they think that it makes them superior. You can often hear that, and I have learned it's pretty much over the United States. I don't know if about anywhere else, but doctor's offices. And I used to work when I was a career student at university, both undergraduate and graduate, all the way, classes, otherwise people would see them as like freshman to PhD level classes. And I worked in doctor's office, surgeons mainly, and I did like interim office management, and when the office managers were out. And I worked with a lot of people, and they had that accent, and they put on that little accent, like, made them superior to all. It comes back to me, it comes out through my own accent when I think about them or talk about them, sometimes just out of the blue. But if I tried to do it, I can't do it. But it's, it's some kind of Valley Girl, and then some of them even add a little sound at the end, like that makes them somehow superior. I can't help but laugh. I mean, do they have brains? To think that if they cop an accent, that somehow makes them superior. Makes them superior to others, including the patients and maybe even the doctors. They erect this totem pole that is totally out of whack. We do totem poles in here. You know, white people do totem poles wrong anyway. I don't know about any other ethnic group. But they weren't meant to be the lowest person on it is this or that. But they think in terms of that the lowest person on the totem pole is the least significant. And as I say, they don't put the patient on the lowest. They put the patient underneath the totem pole, smush them. You know, that's what they try to do. You know, some of these people, the ones who do this, not all do this, but the ones who do. And they grab, you know, you hear the accents coming through? But, oh, when they want to act superior, and I've seen some of them do it on video, you know, these are people who do food delivery. You know, if they've ever worked in medical or they're still working in medical, you know, like part-time or something, they'll cop that attitude when they see one another. They go into a medical thing and cop that attitude like they're superior to. Oh, what is it with people trying to act superior? I am so sick of that. Really. People trying to act superior. It's like it's something in the water. Seriously. You know, it's disgusting that somebody feels such a strong need to be superior to another human being. And some of them actually call themselves Christian and do that. That's not what your Christian Bible says now, is it? No. You're actually supposed to humble yourself and act like the others are superior. That shocked me too. You better believe it. But yeah, you're supposed to be humble. Okay, you know, the translation may be wrong because it was, you know, I Googled it. It was actually yesterday. And that of maybe it didn't say to be act inferior. Maybe it was more like you humble yourself. And humble was taken that way. But no, you know, I can't look, I don't know how to look at that up otherwise. But when you know, you look at people with love, mercy, grace, and you don't, you're not out for revenge, you're not out to feel superior to them, and we all feel equal. We're all God's children, no matter what their religion. You know, it is not for us to decide. Okay, but there are people out there, they want to feel so superior. I'm telling you, I want to do a whole video about when you realize somebody you've known for a long period of time, and that you realize that something comes out one day that they're prejudiced. You know, they're not white people. I know whites get, I'm white, a lot of flack, like we're the most prejudiced people. And it begs the question, and there is this question, can the oppressor, there was this question when I was a student, can the oppressor be oppressed? And they felt back then, I don't know how it is now, that white people in the United States were the oppressor. I have always had that. I'm a social and behavioral scientist. My master's is in sociology. I studied, it was over 20 years a career student, and I still have always had the question. Another question is, beg the question is a different way than you'd think, but you know, should we be blamed for our ancestors, what they did? I don't think so. But I think we should acknowledge that white people have privilege in the United States. It depends on where it's located. It's not always, but overall. I think that might be changing, hopefully. You know, I don't think any people should feel superior to any others. And like I said, you know, other people would say, well, that's just reverse prejudice. No, prejudice is prejudice. Period. Master's degree in sociology, it's prejudice. When somebody decides that their ethnic group and then from their country and their ethnic group is the superior ethnic group in the whole world. Now, of course, it's not everybody in that, but the ones who do. It's a collective narcissism, a group narcissism. And, they see it as it's prejudice. That all others, that they can do something wrong to somebody and do them wrong. They did something wrong and it was a mistake or whatever it was, and they should offer an apology for what they did. But no, they're not going to apologize because they see themselves in that class that is the highest level in the whole world. Talk about delusional. And that class does not apologize to the lower ones. And everybody, except in their own ethnic group, every other one is inferior. All of them, except for their own. Wow, when you hear something like that from somebody, I mean, they don't spell it out that way, but when you put the 2 and 2 together, whoa, man, they're not going to apologize because who are you? How dare you to think that they were going to apologize to someone like you who is not at their level? My God, some of this stuff. Then, as I've put it in my head, I've heard for many years this about how some military think in terms of admit nothing, deny everything, and make counter accusations. How many of us have known people like that? And I'm not talking about military, just anybody. They could be military, but just anybody. They will admit nothing. They do something wrong, they will admit nothing. They will deny everything. And they'll make counter accusations. It's usually like these histrionic people who will do harm to somebody and then they play the victim. They victimize somebody, they play the victim. Okay? But I add something to that. These people who see themselves as their ethnic group is that above all. Like I said, it's not white people. Above all. And they add something to it. It's admit nothing, deny everything, make counter accusations, and seek revenge on the person that they did wrong in the first place, because how dare they think that they owe them an apology. So they seek revenge on the people they've already done wrong to. I just got kind of distracted while I was saying it, because right in front of me on the my house, there's shrubs out there, and lizards live in those shrubs. And there's one of them just popped its head and it's sitting right there, right in front of me, and just sitting there. And I'm like, usually whenever the babies are born, they're all over the place. And this one, I guess, is one that remained here. So, but anyway, it so distracted me. At least it wasn't a squirrel moment this time. I think my squirrels are usually in the back, act as though they're mine. We have 2 squirrels, and they did have a baby, at least one. So my crazy girl dog, the latest rescue was last year. She sits there at that tree and barks. And just barks. And now there's a baby, and the baby, Adam said he was watching it, and the baby was so scared, it was terrified, and it wouldn't move. And Adam said, maybe the squirrel was sitting up there thinking, stupid dog. You can't reach me, I'm way up here. It was kind of funny, because you think about it. It could be the baby was sitting there way up there in the tree going, stupid dog. On that note.